The reason why, this just came to me as I was just thinking through, like, why are we doing what we're doing, going through these covenants, going through Israel? Is it just to know cool, facts about the Bible? Like, is it for Bible trivia? It's important. And here, there's this verse in Romans 15. Romans 15 talks about the things that were written in the Old Testament were written for our encouragement so that we might have hope. And so that's an important word when we talk about this big picture that we've been going through, is the word hope. And it's not just like a cool story like The Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or something. That this is a real historical story. That it's in my opinion, guys, it is way cooler than any story I've ever read. Way cooler than Harry Potter. Way cooler than, and not just cool for the sake of cool. It's like, it's the greatest story ever told. I mean, this is, and so when we're getting into these things, we're getting into this big storyline that encompasses human history, and it gives understanding to how we got to this point and where we're headed. And so this helps keep our minds focused, from being distracted, from being led astray. Remember, we talked about all these different paths. Well, whose path is right? Well, this helps us understand God's big picture story. We're going to talk about David. What you guys know about David? David, anybody can just shout out some things when you think of David from the Bible. Anything, something. Just shout it out. Okay. Well, okay, so here I wrote some down. Goliath, the slingshot. He was a shepherd. He was a king. Bathsheba. But David, he's actually he's a very important person in the Bible. He's got the most mentions other than Jesus, 1,011 times. So he's the first name mentioned in the New Testament and the last other than Jesus. Isn't that cool? The first name mentioned in the New Testament now. So he's given some of the most significant promises in the Bible. Whoa! Oh, snap! And the Star of David is the modern day flag for the country of Israel. Anyway, David has the second most mentions in the Bible. So, what about him? What makes him so special? Why? What's the big deal? Like, what's his story? God's anointed leader. Look at that word, anoint, to rub, to smear with oil. That's a way that they would anoint a king. And so David was a king that God had anointed. And this is a really important piece for the future, when you go into Christ and the cross and what it means to be the Christ. What it means, when Jesus Christ wasn't his last name, guys. Christ actually meant something. Anyway, you'll go into detail of that, I believe, later on. But what it meant is that anointed, God had anointed him as a king. He had a very specific role. When God blessed David, so he became the king. He blessed him, and when David, this is in 2 Samuel 7. This is a really cool passage. When David, he had rest from all his enemies. I mean, David's life was crazy. He was a man after God's heart. He was a shepherd. He's this passionate guy who was a songwriter and a musician and just a lover of God. And he has a very tender heart. And when he became king, he's also a warrior. He was also a fierce, you don't want to mess with that guy. But so after he became king, God really blessed him. He had rest on all sides. He has this thing. He's sitting in his house, and it's made out of fancy wood, and he's looking at his house. He's just laying. I don't know if he's laying in bed, and he's saying, "Why is it that I have this fancy, nice mansion, and God, all He has is this box outside?" And because at that point they had this thing called the altar of what was it called? The Ark of the Covenant, and it was this box that they would carry around. And it had some things in there that reminded them of the covenant, the 10 Commandments, Aaron's staff. Anyway, hold questions to the end, please. So what that means is, so he was like, I want to build God a house. Like, I got this big house. I want to build God a house. That's David. He loved God because God had really, he had developed this history and this relationship with him, and he wanted to worship him with what he had. So he wanted to build him this house. And he told this prophet Nathan, he said, I want to build God a house. And Nathan's like, go for it. But that night, God appears to Nathan in a dream and says some important things. It says, instead, so God says, I want you to tell this to David. He said, you want to build me a house? He said, instead, I will make you a house. And that means a royal dynasty. You guys know what that word means, dynasty? Empire? Yeah, so like you have kings who follow you, and you have this lineage, this royal lineage. So I mean, David is given these promises in 2 Samuel 7. Your throne. And there's this even bigger point at the end of this promise. I mean, not only is he going to have this lineage of kings, son. I mean, how cool would this be if you thought your descendants, people, this line that will last far beyond your life. Like, a lot of people want to be great now and, be really popular and really cool and have a lot of followers now. And David's saying he's going to have decades. I mean, a lineage of kings. These are coming from him. And not only that, his throne is going to be set. It's going to be established forever. So this is like David's like, you should read it in 2 Samuel 7. He's like, what is man? What, Lord God, like, why are you mindful of me? He's like, I just wanted to build you a house. And Lord's like, I'm going to build you a house. The Lord's like, oh, David, I got something in store for you. And he gives him some of the most, guys, and we're going to go, I really want you guys to pay attention about these promises, because this is going to form, you're going to see it. We're going to just scratch the surface. Okay, God promises to David, and this is in 2 Samuel 7, a royal dynasty, a kingdom, a throne set forever. He says, I will make him my firstborn son, the mightiest king on the earth. Oh, I love it. The mightiest king forever. I'm going to give this to David, this man, all human history, like this one who's the king over all kings, the greatest, this firstborn son. Even that verse, Psalm 89, when he says firstborn son, this is where we get the idea of what it means to be Jesus being the Son of God. There's a lot of backgrounds, not only that he is God's begotten, that he's God in the flesh. That is part of it, but he's also the firstborn son, the mightiest king of the earth. One more amazing psalm. That guy has big ears. He's all ears. Okay, so Psalm 132. Oh, guys, there's so much we could talk about here, but I'm trying to pick some of the most important ones and some of the most significant ones. But when you look at Psalm 132, it's this story of David kind of recounting this experience he had with the house and with Nathan, it's about this story. And then Psalm 132, it says, the Lord has chosen Jerusalem. I will live here. This is my resting place forever. Who's saying this? God is saying this, and this is in relation to David's promises, David's covenant, that God is going to dwell, he's going to abide, on the earth forever in Jerusalem. I mean, this is why some of these things are so important to the Jewish people, because this is, the land. And think about this. Let's even go further back to Abraham. The land, the seed, no one? I was like, no one's responding. The land and the seed and the blessing. And this is what was promised to Abraham. And so now we have a very geographical, a city, a throne, a dwelling place, an eternal throne. And so this is what has been promised to David. Okay, David dominates. This, like I said, guys, there's a lot that I wish we could just do an all-nighter. Who's in? We're just going for it. We're going in. Mountain Dew and Red Bull and David. Okay, so David dominates the Old Testament. Remember, we said he's the second most mentioned person in the Bible other than Jesus. So he's dominating the Old Testament, dominating these promises. Okay, I got to just do one. Just bear with me, guys. Isaiah 9:6. Maybe you've heard this before. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice. From that time forward, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Remember when I was talking about how there's trying to make this connection between Christmas, we're doing the Christmas season, and then we have this the Davidic covenant. Well, that verse right there is the one you hear all the time at church where you're talking about Jesus' birth. And we'll look at another one too that actually Mary, the angel says to Mary, when you're going to have a son, and this is who he's going to be. They're talking about, they're talking about what we're talking about, guys. They're talking about these big picture promises, and they're awesome. Okay, one more, Isaiah 11. Ready? Okay. There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and the branch shall grow out of its roots. Okay, Jesse is David's dad. So they're saying a guy from a son of Jesse is going to come forth. I'm going to skip ahead. He with righteousness he shall judge for the poor. This is talking about this king. With righteousness he's going to judge for the poor. He's going to decide with equity for the meek of the earth. Righteousness shall be the belt and faithfulness of his waist. Then it starts talking about the wolf will lie down with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the young goat. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse. So a root of Jesse, somebody coming, the root and the rod of Jesse. Anyway, so somebody who will stand as the banner of the people, and the nations will seek him, and his resting place will be glorious. That's directly from Isaiah 11. So they're talking about this promised one of David's seed who's going to come to the earth, that he's going to be a king, that he's going to take care of the poor, he's going to bring justice. He's good, and then they even start talking about the created order, wolf lying down with the lamb. I mean, this is a big picture verse here talking about the story of the Davidic hope and the covenant and the restoration of the kingdom of Israel and the glory of God coming to the earth and to Jerusalem and the Messiah, and this is the hope, and this is what the scriptures are just, we're talking about over and over, and I mean, this is just what is being straight out said. So Jesus is the Son of David. So this is the climactic point of Christmas, that Jesus is the Son of David. When Jesus comes onto the scene, and you have angels announcing it, and you have these promises that people have in their mind, that this king is here. So there's the the guy, angel, your son will be David's promised king. Whoa. I did draw that a while ago, but so this is from Luke 1. And this is, I'm going to have to close on this point, guys, but this is, again, like I said, there's so many scriptures about his promise. But look what Mary, if you can decipher my crazy drawing there. Then the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus. He will be great, and he will be called," listen, pay close attention, "he will be called the Son of the Most Highest, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." Yeah, whoa, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. I mean, whoa, like that, he just said it. Like, he said, this is Jesus. And so, I want to keep going. But we got to stop there. We got to stop there because I don't want to steal the next topic of the teaching, because there's so much I want to talk about. Okay, well, what happened though? What happened when Jesus come? Did the glory come? Are wolves lying down with lambs, not biting each other or whatever? And is there a kingdom in Jerusalem? Guys, if you go to Israel right now, I have news for you. There is no kingdom. There's no throne in Jerusalem. So some of these things that have been promised are not happening yet. Dun, dun, dun. You guys are on top of the sound effects up here. To be continued. And this is what I want to show. And this is intentional. There's something he's doing here. There's something that there's a part of his story, his big picture story, that we find ourselves in. And so I want you guys to pay attention in the next coming classes, or not classes, meetings, and find out more about how this unfolds. Okay? So I'm going to stop there. Do you guys feel like you got a grip of David, his covenant? We kind of scratched the surface. All right. We're going to do a little review, though. We're going to do a little review. So I wrote a little rap a while ago about, it's about the what it means to be some of these covenants. Can you turn it up? In the midst of the curse came a promise indiscreet, with enmity between the serpent and the seed of the woman he deceived, who will bring forth a son, whose heel you will bruise, but your head he will crush. That ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, God's headship of the heavens, he's always been hating. He said in his heart, he'll ascend to the sky, set up his throne just like the Most High. But a son of Adam will end the perversion. His foot will rest on the neck of the usurper, stamping out his rule, power and authority, bringing back the original order and glory. God will put it all underneath his feet, the works of his hands subjected to the seed, who's crowned with glory, blessing and honor, exalted to the right hand of majesty and power. The son, okay, it goes like this. Seed of Abraham, every nation is blessed. The seed of David will have a rule that never ends. Though humanity rebelled, God had a plan to bless every nation through a man called Abraham, who went out from his country, left it all behind for the promise of a blessing coming through his family line. God called one man out from the nations, designated one clan with one language to dwell in one land, to be the ones who bring forth the seed. The blessings will come through a people set apart among the nations. They will be inheriting the calling. The promise is unique. The contingent to receive was repentance, submission, and belief. This extended to those who put their faith in The Messiah from every tribe and nation. The seed of the woman will crush a serpent's head. Through the seed of Abraham, every nation is blessed. The seed of David will have a rule that never ends. Let's try that again. The seed of the woman will crush a serpent's head. Through the seed of Abraham, every nation is blessed. Okay, here we go. King David desired to build the Lord a house, but instead God gave him promises about a throne set forever and a royal dynasty. With the seed from his body established as king, God will be the father, the rock of his salvation, exalting his firstborn above every nation. A throne, a scepter, a kingdom from God. His reign characterized by justice and love. In righteousness he will judge for the poor. Throughout the ages his name shall endure. The fortune of Jacob the seed will restore. The promise of his coming is certain as it's sure as the rising of the sun, moon, stars in the sky. A descendant from David will reign from on high.